Okay, good evening, everyone. I am excited to join you all tonight to talk about what you need to know about applying to a community college here in Oregon. My name is Adrienne Enriquez, and I help to run the Oregon Goes to College activities, including College Application Week, which is why we're doing this session right now, this evening. You can find more information about going to college in Oregon at the OregonGoesToCollege.org website. And so certainly make an effort to go check that out if you're interested in going to college in Oregon. And I want to make a point that when we talk about going to college, we mean any formal training or education after high school. And so, of course, tonight we're talking about community colleges. It certainly includes that. It also includes four-year universities and colleges, and also apprenticeship programs or other training or certificate programs that exist. And so we think of college as a lot of different things, any training or education beyond high school. Tonight specifically, we're talking about community colleges, and I'm very excited to introduce two of our friends from Oregon Community Colleges. I'm actually going to ask you to introduce yourselves by telling us your name, where you work, and one reason that you personally decided to go to college.
Excellent, thank you. Welcome everyone. My name is Amanda Miller, and I'm here representing Mount Hood Community College. We're located just outside of Portland, Oregon. I really wanted to go to community college because I wanted a better chance in my life of getting the career that I would find rewarding and fulfilling.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Buccafurni, and I work at Central Oregon Community College in Bend, Oregon. And I chose college because I was choosing between a few different careers, and they all required a degree. So I knew that that was just in my path to get to that end goal for me.
Great, thank you both so much. And I want to let those of you who are watching live know that if you have questions for Amanda or Lindsay as we go, you can enter those questions into the YouTube comment section, and we'll make sure to pull those out and get those spoken out loud to Amanda and Lindsay so that we can have those questions answered. So you can do that at any point from now until when we're done. But I have a few questions, and so I'm going to go ahead and ask those as we're waiting to see if you all have some questions as well. And my first question is, what kinds of information or documents or materials do students need to have in order to complete an application to a community college?
Yeah, thanks, Adrienne. So I'll name a few, and then my colleague Lindsay will go ahead. But it's kind of a lot of general information that you expect to put into an application. So your name, date of birth, your address, what your high school is, graduation or GED diploma year. Some optional information for us is things like your social security number and things like that. What would you add to that, Lindsay?
Yeah, I think, it's important to note that community colleges accept all students. So we are not going to be looking at certain GPAs. You don't even need to upload those transcripts, which is pretty nice. And then certain colleges might have an application fee. So I would encourage you to check out the school's website that you're interested in to see if that might be part of the application process or not. But you'll be able to find a lot of information when you explore the different college websites.
One thing I would add to that is if you do know what you want to study at this point, maybe putting in your major or what you want to study might be something that we would love to know.
Yeah. And just, Lindsay, you had a really good point that students can find information about what they might need or how to apply information about the college on the college's website. I'll also say that on the Oregon Goes to College website, if you go to the apply page, which you can find from the menu tabs, there's actually a really handy chart that has all of the colleges in the state, including what their application fees are. It'll also take you directly to that page on the college's website to give you information about what you need to do to apply. So there's a link directly there. If you're having trouble finding that on the college's website, you could go to the Oregon Goes to College website and find that along with the application fees all in one place, if that's helpful.
Yes, and the other thing, you know this, Adrienne, but your team has done such a great job of putting together videos this year of walking students through the application process. I just remembered that as you talked about the website. So that's great place to look in and be walked through that application process too.
Yep, and that's actually on that exact same page as where the information, the table with the links to the college's websites and the application fee information. So thank you for reminding me of that. I did know that, but thanks for reminding me. Do different community colleges have different requirements, and how might I know what those requirements are?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I mentioned, one of the core beliefs of community colleges, we don't have entrance requirements. So everyone is accepted, that applies, which is awesome. However, there might be certain specific requirements for particular programs that you're looking at. For example, like nursing or paramedicine come to mind at COCC. And I'm sure that's, similar for you, Amanda, at Mount Hood Community College. So again, we encourage you to check the websites to see if there are particular entrance requirements for those programs that you might be looking at. Amanda, do you have anything to add?
I just say that we have some limited and restricted programs, and that can be kind of a daunting term, limited or restricted, and it shouldn't be at all. Essentially, it means that there are other requirements, and you can find out that information on our website at Mount Hood Community College as well. Like Lindsay said, particularly things like the health professions, those generally have some prerequisites that are required for students that you have to meet that are in addition to the regular application. And sometimes application fees come with those. I'll say that as well for specific programs.
That's really good to know. If a student can't find the information they're looking for on the website, who should they contact?
You're always welcome to call the admissions office. I think that's kind of the gateway just to connect with somebody and talk to a real human. And we're happy to answer questions for students. Every school is here to support you, and we want to help you find the right fit in the right school and program. So that means we're willing to answer those questions. Or if we can't find the answer, we don't know the answer, we'll help you find it and track it down and be in touch with you.
Absolutely. The only thing I would add to that is you might want to check the website, and then that might help you a little bit further. Now, that said, sometimes websites aren't that intuitive. So it's really easy to find contact information, usually on the home page of a website, as to how you can reach out to somebody. So there's always somebody at the end of that other line. I will put in our little piece that's changed for us with the COVID. We have a chat function that's available. So that can be really useful for students just reaching out for the first time if they need to find out information. And that can be found on our homepage as well.
And I've noticed that several of the community colleges in the state have something like that. So you might find that as well as you're checking out different colleges that you might be interested in, even if it's not Mount Hood or COCC. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a student and I am excited and ready to go and I want to apply, should I apply this fall? Can I wait until spring? What's the timeline for applying to a community college?
I'm going to get really excited about this question because the answer is do it right now. Why not? Why wait? Do it as soon as possible. There's no commitment or requirement till you go and register for actual classes. So you don't lose anything by getting that done in advance. And it's one less thing you have to check off as being finished. What do you think, Lindsay?
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of a community college is that you don't have the same admissions deadline that you might see at universities. So that is a great perk. But that also doesn't mean that there aren't as many steps to go through. There's still a lot to do in the admissions process. So just as Amanda said, we always encourage students just to apply early and check that off your list, because then you'll be working on your other steps in the enrollment process and you won't feel that same stress and you won't be rushed through everything. So yeah, we always encourage earlier rather than later.
Okay. Speaking of one of those other steps in the enrollment process, can we talk about the Oregon Promise? What is it, and what does a student need to know about applying for it and community colleges, and sort of how that all fits together, and what do they need to know?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, it feels like it changes a little bit every year, but it is a state-funded program, a grant program that does potentially provide some free money to help students pay for their tuition. So there's a lot of requirements and information. You can find it on the website, oregonstudentaid.gov. But in general, you have to have a 2.5 cumulative GPA. You have to be graduating from an Oregon high school and attending an Oregon community college within 6 months of your high school graduation. And you have to have been a resident in Oregon for 12 months prior to that start time. So those are some of the parameters, and we always encourage students to apply for Oregon Promise. It takes about 10 minutes. It's a really easy application. And so even if you're not sure if you're attending college, or even if you're not 100% sure which college you're going to, even if it's a community college or not, again, we encourage students to apply. You do have to have that FAFSA or the ORSA done because they look at financial need. But any little bit of potential free money is worth it. And it's a great incentive to look at an Oregon community college. And you can take it to any Oregon community college.
Absolutely. Nicely done.
No, nothing more. Okay. So I want to remind folks who are watching, if you're watching us live, we can take questions. You can just enter those into the YouTube comment section and we will get to them. So please feel free to do that. And if you have questions about applying to community colleges in general across the state, Amanda and Lindsay are really great resources for that. I bet they would also take specific questions about either Mount Hood or Central Oregon if you happen to have those. But they're also really just great resources for community colleges in general. So feel free to use that function. My next question, oh, go ahead.
There's only one thing that I forgot that I don't think we mentioned, which is that you can be either a part-time or a full-time student using the Oregon Promise. So don't feel like you have to commit, to doing that. And so that can mean if you're working and going to school at the same time, and you have to work and you need to be able to do a part-time schedule, the funding will still be there for you. So
that's a really good point. Thank you for clarifying that. That's important to know. My next question is, if I am undocumented or a documented student, can I still apply to a community college in Oregon, and am I eligible for financial aid?
Yeah, so we absolutely can and welcome students that are undocumented as well as DACA students. And essentially, there's not an issue for that in terms of applying. I think Lindsay will address in a minute sort of what those requirements are for applying. But the one thing to know, and is really super important, is before you enter any program, if you are undocumented, there may be some challenges and things that become barriers in terms of being able to actually get license certifications once you complete the program. So for example, nursing, dental hygiene, funeral service, those kind of programs, if you're going to have a requirement either by the state or a federal certification, or then you may unfortunately be prevented from doing so in those programs. But you can contact your local institution. Myself or Lindsay would be both happy to answer those questions more in depth, but that's just a good general piece of knowledge to have.
Yeah, that's great. And I would also add that, when you apply for community college, there is an option to include your social security number, but you can just leave it blank. It's not a requirement. So just be aware of that. And you are still, undocumented students and DACA students are still eligible for the ORSA, which is the Oregon Student Aid application. So that's state of Oregon funding to help pay for your tuition. So that's just something to know. And if you ever have questions, if you're filling out the ORSA and you need help at all, it can be a little bit tricky. We know that. You can always reach out to your financial aid office at your local community college, regardless of what school you're planning to attend. And we're happy to help you through that process. And DACA and undocumented students are also eligible for Oregon Promise, which is awesome. And also I would encourage students to check your local institution's scholarships and see what kind of scholarships they have. I know at COCC, we do have one for any incoming student, and undocumented and DACA students are welcome to apply as well.
Great, thank you. That's really good information for some students to have. I have a question that wasn't on our list of things to talk about, but related to the Social Security number. I've been told that it's really good advice if you do have a social security number to enter that at the time of application in order to make the financial aid process a little bit easier. So you could choose not to enter it at the time of application, but I've been told that maybe if you have one, it's a good idea to enter it at that time. Is that true?
Yeah, it absolutely is true at our institution. I'd assume the same probably for Lindsay in terms of just as many boxes as you can complete, but particularly the Social Security box is a helpful piece. It is also a unique identifier for the student. So say my name's pretty plain, Amanda Miller. There's like 7 of them that live in the Portland metro area. So if I have my Social Security number in there, it's going to differentiate me. It's going to separate me from other people so they can identify me more readily. So it's totally worth it if you have it and if you know it, because if you put it in wrong, that can present other challenges as well. Lindsay, did you have anything to add to that?
Nope, just I agree. Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. But of course, if you don't have one, as we were just talking about, it's okay, you can still apply. But if you do have one, put it in there. We've talked a little bit about this next question earlier, but I'm going to ask it again with a little bit of context, and that is, how do I know who to talk to if I have questions? And this is a question that came up from some students who said, people have different titles and I don't know who's who and what means what, and it's different from one college to the other, and it's just so confusing. I don't know who to talk to. So we talked a little bit about this, but how would I know who I need to talk to if I have questions?
Yeah, that's a great question, Adrienne. It can feel really overwhelming sometimes when you're reaching out. And, I encourage you to start on the website. Most colleges will have like a future students page or an admissions page. Look for something along those lines. And typically, most schools will have pictures of their staff members and contact information because we do want to help you. We want to reach out. And if you reach out to us, that's even better. So typically you can find something on the school's website, and you can always email us or give us a call. If you can't, just look for the admissions office. That's a great place to start. But just in general, if you could find one phone number, I'm sure if you give that phone number a call, I know that the person that picks up, they'll be friendly and willing to help you and get you to the right department. Again, we're all here to help. We know this can feel a little bit intimidating, and we want to break those barriers down. So we're here to help.
Great, thanks.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Adrienne. I'll just add to that. We absolutely are on this call right now, and we have our contact information available to you all as well. And the one last thing I would say is there are no silly questions when you're in this process. And so anybody that you can reach out to with the intention will help you get to the right people if they can answer that. I know that's true for our office. Our main admissions number, I'll just throw it out there, is 503-491-7393. I know that in my sleep. So, if you're wanted to reach out to us at Mount Hood, you absolutely can. And then my email address is pretty simple. Lindsay has a beautiful last name, a little bit more challenging probably to find, but my email address is amanda.miller@mhcc.edu. Happy to help.
We can put mine in the chat if that works, Adrienne, because it's not an easy one.
Beautiful last name.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Lindsay, if you want to add that to the chat here on Zoom, then I think we can get that into the YouTube section as well. The next question that I have is, I've submitted my application. I've done what I think I need to do, right? And Lindsay mentioned earlier that there are some other steps in the enrollment process. So once I've submitted my application and I've applied for Oregon Promise, because we've talked about that as well, what else do I need to do after I apply?
That's a great question. And it's definitely something to be thinking about. I think you get so excited about applying that you forget more comes next. So again, going back to the website, most schools are going to have a really defined list of what you need to be doing as a student. So typically after you apply, you've gotten your FAFSA or your ORSA in and Oregon Promise. Every school will be a little bit different in their onboarding process, but they might have you do some type of placement, and then you will eventually meet with an academic advisor too before you register for your classes, so that you make sure that you're taking the appropriate courses. So that's where we would encourage you to check out the school's website, see what that process looks like. Because I can imagine COCC's is a little different even from Mount Hood's, but the gist of it will be very similar. So check it out, and there's going to be links for each different activity that you need to be going through. And if you have questions on when you should be doing those steps, again, reach out and we're happy to let you know, a target goal for some of those activities. And the other thing I would encourage you to do is check your email. So when you apply to a college, you are going to get a college email. I know it's one more password to remember, but it's really important that you start checking that. And the biggest reason is a lot of important information will be sent to that school email, as well as that financial aid information. So you want to be keeping an eye on that so you know what's going on. Amanda, do you have anything else to add?
The only thing I would say is, like we mentioned before, if you're going to be applying to any kind of specialized programs, those may have a little different terms of deadlines. Those may be a little bit different. But like you said, it's really important to just keep checking your email with the institution, because that is going to tell you pretty much everything you need to know. But when it comes to specialized programs, it may fall onto you to just be more proactive in seeing if there are additional deadlines for things.
Great, thank you. We do have a question that came in from the chat, and I'm going to, before I ask it, let you all know that I have one other question after this one that Amanda and Lindsay don't know about. But so now is a really good time to get your questions in, because after I ask my final question, we will be saying goodnight. So if you've got questions, now's a great time to get those in so that we can ask them. But the question that has come in, we have two. The first one is, does Mount Hood or Central Oregon offer any dental hygiene programs?
I don't know about Central Oregon. I'm excited to hear the answer to that myself, to be honest. At Mount Hood, we absolutely have a dental hygienist program. It is considered one of our restricted programs, which means it has an additional application. There are also some course prerequisites at our school. You're a little bit of the dental hygiene program. It is based upon a point-based system. So if you have completed your courses in advance, say, for example, anatomy and physiology, microbiology, those kind of classes in advance, you'll get a point system that will help you to get into the program a little bit more. It is one of our more competitive programs. It's also just an outstanding career option for people. So I think that definitely is why people want to go into that program. But it generally takes about a year of doing your prerequisite coursework in advance of coming into the program before you actually can enter our program. How's it at your school, Lindsay? Do you have a program?
We actually don't. No, we have a dental assisting program. We do not have a dental hygienist program. So we do see some students that come our way to get those prerequisite courses out of the way, and then they go elsewhere for the dental hygiene program. And then we have a great hands-on dental assisting program.
That was a great question. So thank you to whoever asked that question. The next question is also a really good question, and that is, if I plan to do 2 years at a community college and then transfer to a university, what steps do I need to take to apply to the university?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple different ways that you could actually go about the transfer process. You could do a full 2 years or more if it takes you more at a community college, and then you could do the straight transfer. And then some community colleges, Amanda, I'm not sure about Mount Hood, but some have partnerships with some universities in the state where you can do a dual enrollment. We call it a degree partnership program. So I know COCC, we have that with OSU main campus and OSU Cascades. So you're a student at both institutions and you don't do the traditional transfer. So there are a few different ways to do that. But if you're doing that traditional transfer process, what you would do is meet with your advisor during your time at the community college, and you want to make it clear where you're wanting to transfer and what program you're wanting to transfer. And I also encourage students to do some of your own homework too, to make sure that you really are taking the right classes, so you're not spending money and time on classes that aren't required by the university. They're really going to define what you need those first 2 years, your lower level classes. And then your second year, if you're wrapping things up, then you'd want to check out that university's website to see what are the transfer student requirements and deadlines, and then start that application process as a transfer student. Amanda, do you have anything else to add to that?
I mean, I think you stated it so eloquently, honestly. The one thing I might add to that, yeah, we do have partnerships with a lot of institutions. We've got agreements with schools that, in fact, at Mount Hood, you can actually come and never leave Mount Hood's campus. We have a partnership with Eastern Oregon University that will get you a Bachelor of Teaching. So that's kind of cool if you don't want to leave the area and you don't want to go to Eastern Oregon, but you want to get that degree. Opportunities abound, really. That's the thing. I really encourage people, if you do know where you want to go, to kind of identify that and then to work that angle backwards. Definitely reach out to the other institution, get your application done at the other institution in advance, just so that you're really can be successful in the ways that you're wanting to move forward with that in a relatively speedy and cost efficient. Lindsay, I can't help but say it. It's so sad when students spend money on classes that they don't need, that aren't going to fulfill the requirements at the institution where they want to get their final degree. That's really heartbreaking. And who has time for that? I don't have time for that. So, I really just need, I would encourage students to stay focused and to work with your advisor. I mean, I also recommend we have a process where students every term can run a degree audit that tells them where they are in terms of how their degree is going to be continuing and how they're moving through that and what requirements are being met. That's a really helpful tool for students to be able to identify, oh, okay, I know that I've still got a math class I need to take, and this is what I'm going to need to take in order to be able to get into that business accounting major that I want to go to at Oregon State, like that. So yeah, it's just really being thoughtful about the long term. It can be hard when you're kind of in it your first year and so on. It gets much easier, I think, once you get familiar with the process and you just feel more comfortable. But again, you just reach out to those institutions. Everybody wants to see you succeed. So that's the thing that is really important to remember, and to know that we get these questions all the time. So we're really happy to answer them, and just to engage with people in a way that's going to help facilitate their support in the future, because we want to see you all do well.
Absolutely. We have one more question from Mary, who asked our other two questions as well. And she says that, Lindsay, this is specifically for you. She'd love to hear more about the dental assistant program at COCC, if you can share that. Or she didn't say this, but maybe if necessary, if there's a way that she can get that information if you're not able to share it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a certificate program. And I can pop on to see exactly how many credits it is, because I don't know that off the top of my head. We have so many programs that I'm not an expert in all the areas. But Mary, I also would love to connect you to Wendy at COCC. Wendy Worthington oversees our health career programs, and she's like an expert in all of those. I'm a little more of a generalist. So she would definitely be happy to chat with you and tell you more about that program. And I will put her email in the chat.
Hey, while you're doing that, Lindsay, I'm curious now for myself. I never knew this, so this is exciting. How long does it take for a certificate? Is it a 1 year or 2 year? How long does it take to get that certificate?
That is a great question. I am actually pulling it up right now because I don't know the credits off the top of my head, but I'm checking that right now.
I know at Mount Hood, we have a lot of programs that are usually 1 year certificates, but then in addition, like our apprenticeship programs, anything that, if you're going to be doing, say you want to be an electrician, you go through the electricians union, and then you go ahead and you end up, you do a 2 year certificate, first year certificate, and then a 2 year degree. Once you get that 2 year degree, you get the journeyman's card as well. So you're actually actively working in that field. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So I am looking online just to double check that I'm saying the right information. And it looks like it is almost a 2-year certificate. It's 69 to 77 credits. And I also believe that dental assisting has a couple of entrance requirements around it as well. So you can find all of that on COCC's website, or I dropped Wendy's email in the chat and you can email her and she can give you far more details than I can. But it is, these are great programs, and similar at Mount Hood Community College, they're super hands-on. We meet a lot of students that say, I don't know if college is the right fit for me because I don't want to sit in that classroom. And I always challenge them saying there's so many other programs that are at the college level, but they're not that traditional classroom, and dental assisting and dental hygiene are perfect examples of those. The actual classroom, it looks like a normal dentist's office, and it's in this beautiful new facility. So it's definitely worth thinking about. They don't take a lot of time and they don't cost a lot of money, and then you have a great career ahead of you. So yeah, definitely check out the website. I apologize, I don't have all of the details, but certificates can range from 1 term to almost 2 years at the community college level. And it looks like that one's on the longer side.
Great. Thank you so much. And I promised that I had one other question that you didn't know about, and that is just sort of thinking about the time that we're in now and COVID. And I have certainly heard from some students that they don't know if they want to apply to college if they don't know what's going to be happening next fall. And frankly, none of us really know what's going to be happening next fall. So what would your best advice be to a student who is feeling that way right now, that they don't know if this is something that they want to do because things are uncertain?
Lindsay, you want to start or you want me to start?
Yeah, I'll go for it. Well, I mean, first of all, I would say we hear you. It's a hard time. We totally understand. Some students learn better in person. We get that. And we respect that. And ultimately you need to make the right choice for you. But what I would encourage you to do right now in this season is plan for the fall. And we're all going to cross our fingers that we will be back in person to some extent. I think it's better to plan ahead and have a plan ready. And then hopefully we get the green light and life looks a little bit more normal. Rather than, not doing anything and getting to next fall and then realizing, oh, I actually could have done in-person classes and I didn't prepare at all and now it's too late. So I just would encourage you to go through the process. And, if we get to next fall and we're still remote, which knock on wood, hopefully we aren't, decide you're not ready, that's okay. No harm, no foul. All that you did was spend some time preparing, and you'll just go through the process again when you are ready to commit and to go through everything. So yeah, that would be what I say. What about you, Amanda? Anything else?
I think that's nicely stated. And really, it is a time where people are unsure. However, that means that we have choices. And I think we always have choices in life. And our best choice is to move forward with whatever your dreams may be. Because regardless of what happens in the world, you're still going to have to live your life and do it in a way that you are growing and developing in a way that you want to create your life. And that's the opportunity that comes with change and that comes with transition. So, just keep moving forward, honestly. And worst case scenario is you did it once, you do it again. Now you know what you're doing. I mean, that seems to me to be not a bad thing, to understand how to get through a process, truly. But that was really nicely stated, Lindsay. And truly, the one thing I'll echo again is I think you just rely upon your support networks, both in your institution, in your school, your family. These are the things that get us through hard times. So just trust the process in that way, and don't let it defer your dreams.
Excellent answers. Thank you for that last minute addition that you didn't know was coming. You were spot on. So thank you for that. And I want to thank you again, both Amanda and Lindsay, for being here with us tonight. And I want to thank those who joined us live to watch, and anyone who's coming to see us after we've turn this off and have recorded it. And just thank you for taking the time to hear this really good advice, and to the two of you for sharing this fantastic advice. For those who still have questions, there were some contact information shared, but you also can find contact information on colleges' websites, and also you can get quite a bit of really good information about going to college in Oregon, as I mentioned before, at OregonGoesToCollege.org. And that is a great place to start, and again has links directly to the pages that you need on colleges' websites to get you to where you want to be. So feel free to check those out, and good luck in your process as you move forward in applying. And again, if you have questions, let folks know. People really want to help and to help you follow your dreams and to get you where you need to be. And so don't ever hesitate to ask those questions. And I think, as Amanda said earlier, there are no silly questions. So feel free to ask them. And again, thank you both for being with us, and we're going to say goodbye. And we will hope to hear from you soon with your applications and questions.
Thank you for having us, Adrienne.
Thank you.